Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the vlog. It's Friday. We've managed to get to the fifth day, the fifth video of this kind of week-long kind of mini-series with a few of these YouTube short videos thrown in as well, just for fun. So what we're going to do today is a slight kind of variant of the odd vlog. We're going to do the odd Saber vlog, which is a bit of a spin-off that I started ages and ages and ages ago. And basically, it's like the odd vlog, except we're specifically just talking about anything kind of to do or connected with LED saber combat. So what I'm going to do is just show you one of the numerous sabers that I have in my personal collection. Rather than doing one long video showing you all of them, I'll just do individual videos for each one so that you can see them all and how they work. Now, the one on the wall behind me, that's actually my favourite one. And eagle-eyed viewers of yesterday's video will have noticed that the battery ran out on it right in the middle of the video. So we'll do that one once I get it recharged, basically. So we'll do that one in a separate video. So today we're going to talk about a slightly different one. We're going to talk about this one. So this one is called the Mercenary, and it's manufactured by Saberforge over in America, and it is, quite frankly, well, beautiful. I love it. This particular one is really heavy. I mean, compared to that one on the wall there, which is the one that I probably use more in like training or actual fight situations. This one, because it's quite heavy, it's not particularly bulky, it's actually quite easy to maneuver, but because of its weight, your arm will get pretty tired pretty fast once you start wielding this. Similarly to that one, it's completely charged by plug-in cable as opposed to a battery, and all of the ports and various things are sort of hidden underneath. None of these that I have sound in them, although that is an optional extra that you can have if you're prepared to pay a little bit more money. But with these Saberforge ones, they are quite expensive as they are. And the two that I have from Saberforge were part of their sort of like, you know, Christmas deals, Boxing Day deals, Thanksgiving sales, Black Friday deals, that kind of thing. The other one that I've got is enormous, so I'll show you that one on a separate video. But this is kind of the mid ground between super lightweight and the other one from Saberforge, which is super big and super heavy. But this one I particularly liked because it was ever so slightly sort of customized in terms of the paint job that you can have on it as well. So I went with the all black, and I take the key lock out and light it up. You can see this one is a yellow blade, LEDs in there, and it also comes with this arc reactor style Iron Man like plug that goes in there just to protect the LEDs when there's no actual saber sticking out the top of it. So yeah, so this is the Mercenary Saber. It is quite maneuverable, but a little bit challenging, only because there's a lot of like fiddly bits that stick out. So for example, you've got that's the ignition switch on there, and then you've got this, which is like a kill switch. So when that's plugged in, regardless of what happens to that, the light won't come on or off. So it basically just saves battery. But when you take that out, it does leave, I find, the ignition switch quite exposed. So when you're wielding it, you can quite easily knock it with your hand or your finger, and then your light will just be going on and off, on and on off all the time. So a little bit of a slight flaw in that one. Also, this section here, you see it's got all these like rivets that are all over it. That's not too bad. It feels quite difficult to hold when you've got no gloves on, but if you were actually sparring with somebody, you would have hand protection on anyway, so you probably wouldn't feel those. But this bit here though, the Kovatek wheel, that does get in the way a little bit of your hand and can be quite uncomfortable. But it can be taken off, so it's kind of like an optional extra. But the difficulty is that you take that off, what you get left with is like a bolt that sticks out, and that's even more uncomfortable than just having that on there. So the Kovatek Clip, if you remember the prequel series, they usually use these on their sabers, and they have little clips on their belts, and literally you just hook it onto there. I think they actually include these on like the Galaxy's Edge. I don't know about the build your own sabers, but certainly their legacy lightsabers I think come with those, and you can actually buy the Kovatek clips there from Galaxy's Edge as well. I'd love to have one just from there one day, just because it's Galaxy's Edge. And then as you can see, we've got the pummel at the bottom here. If it did have sound, that's probably where it would come out from, but there's no sound chip in this. As I say, you could have that added if you wanted to. I just personally don't. If you are using these in a sparring session or a class, or even in a tournament, the last thing you really want is sound, and you're going to end up switching it off anyway because you'd never hear the instructor. It's quite a distraction, and because of that I've never bothered to pay extra for sound chips to be put into any of these, because I just won't use them, so I just don't have it. There's no point spending the extra money for something you're not going to use. So this one has had a very limited action, which is why it's still looking quite shiny and new. There's very little scratch marks. In fact, the only scratch mark is up here, which I did myself, bashing it against another hilt in a bag. Yeah, I think I had this for a lightsaber convention where there was a lot of cosplay and that kind of stuff, and just had it there. It was like I used the training saber behind me mainly for the display stuff, and this one was just clipped onto me as an extra, so it's just a bit of detail really. I didn't really use it, so it's never really seen a whole vast amount of action, so it's still in practically brand new condition, and all the LEDs are all obviously working fantastically well, which was a bit of a worry because obviously it's come over from America, this one, shipping and all that kind of stuff. You just weren't sure what state and condition it was going to turn up in by the time it actually got here. But yeah, the LEDs are all absolutely fine, working beautifully well, and when the blade is in it, the yellow really looks brilliant up against the black of the hilt. Actually, it reminds me of Batman, the black and yellow. It looks really, really cool. So yeah, the only other thing really is the cost of this one. This is actually the most expensive one I think that I have, even though it was in a sale, because as I say, I do have a larger, heavier one, but that one was part of a mystery box sale, so it cost a very small amount compared to what it's actually worth. Whereas this one was, yes, discounted, but still quite expensive. So you're looking at anywhere from sort of around $300 to $350, whatever that is in sterling, and then obviously you have to pay shipping on top of that. And because of the weight and the size of them, obviously when you get them, they do come with the blade, so the boxes are pretty big, and because of their weight, you usually have quite large import taxes on these things. Anywhere up to an extra 50 quid just to get it through customs, and then obviously FedEx shipping costs and all that kind of stuff. So they are quite an expensive thing to collect, which is why I've only got a few. But there we go. And obviously, whilst this one is in good condition at the moment, once it gets used a few times, it will get bashed and scratched and scarred and all that kind of thing. So if you're mega protective of spending money on it and displaying it, it's a lot of money for something that you won't get a lot of use out of. Personally, I quite like them when they get a bit beaten up because I think they look really cool that way. And this, the black finish is basically powder coating, so as soon as it gets knocked and hit, it will scratch and you will see the metal underneath the finish. But as I said, I don't mind that because I think it adds some detail and some character to it. So there we go. So that's my Mercenary lightsaber hilt from Saberforge. A little bit pricey, but I think that for detail, I really, really like it. I love the sort of finish on that, the curve to it. As I say, obviously you can have your choice of colour for the LEDs. I went with yellow because I think I got this just after Rise of Skywalker had come out. So I was really excited that Rey had a yellow blade, so I went with the yellow for this one. And I do think it works really, really well with the hilt design. And yeah, when the blade is in it, it looks really, really cool. So that's why I went with yellow. You can have whatever colour you want, but personally I think it just works super, super well. I love the blade plugs that they put in these at Saberforge to look like an Iron Man arc reactor. It's just really, really cool. I think I've got a separate one. No, maybe I don't. I think they're in the other blade, but I think I've got quite a few of these. Basically, every time you order one of these, it pretty much comes with one of these blade plugs. So when they are sent in shipping, they actually come with that inside, and then the blade is extra, purely because it's more protective for the LEDs inside it. If the blade were to get damaged and it were to come out, the LEDs are quite exposed. What always I find fascinating about these things, regardless of whether it's the plug that's in it or a full-on blade, and bearing in mind these are contact blades, they're combat blades, so they get hit and people will full-on pelt you with these things. The only thing that's actually holding the plug in there, or the blade, are these tiny little screws on there, these little rivet screws, and they are really, really small, and it amazes me to this day that they are actually strong enough to hold that in, because people will go full-on combat with you and hit you really, really hard. So the amount that these things can withstand is fantastic. So the manufacturing is just brilliant. I think Saberforge quality is fantastic. They don't have a great reputation, and I think part of that is just because they have really, really long wait times for these. As I say, I ordered this after The Rise of Skywalker came out, which was what, December of 2019. I didn't get this delivered until I think possibly May or June. Yeah, I think it was May actually, May 2020. So almost 6 months for this to be manufactured, shipped out, with everything that goes with it. So quite a long wait time for this. But there we go. I mean, if you want it bad enough, you're going to be prepared to wait for it. But it was excruciating waiting for this to come through. But there we go. So I wish you could feel the weight of this. It really, really does start to weigh quite a lot after a while. So yeah, in terms of wielding it, as I say, not too bad. There are some pointy bits on there. This section, as I say, is quite narrow, but you won't really hold it there. You're obviously holding it at the top or bottom if you're using it in combat. So you would hold it like that. And that way you're not actually supposed to be interfering with the switch, but I think the base of your hand will actually interfere with it, unfortunately. So a slight design flaw, as I said before. But otherwise, I absolutely love it. I think I would prefer to use this one more for like cosplaying, conventions and that kind of stuff. It wouldn't be my main one to go into like tournaments or sparring sessions with. I would resort to that one purely because it's lighter, it's easier to maneuver, it doesn't have the fiddly sticky out bits that are quite cumbersome when you need to move quickly, but it's a beautiful design. I think it's more for appearance than it is for function, but there we go. So there we are, that's my Mercenary hilt. As I say, a good 300 quid's worth of hilt design there, and obviously if it did have sound it would be even more expensive as well. As I say, it does have that little kill switch which goes in and out to cut the power. You can get like customized ones. This is just the Saberforge logo on this. I don't know if you can actually see that, but you can get like ones with the Jedi logo on it or whatever you want. So they are customizable, but they've obviously just gone with their own generic one just for it. I don't think it looks as good with that in there as a display piece, particularly because it's got just their logo on it. It does make it look a little bit less realistic, but there we go, it's not too bad. Once you can get over that, it's pretty good. And obviously you wouldn't really want to wield that while that was still plugged in, because it would get in the way for sure, but you'd take it out anyway. So there we go, so that is the Mercenary hilt, and soon I will do videos for the Pilgrim, which is that one up there, and my crossguard one, which as I say is ridiculously huge. So I'll show you that. I've also got one that I am making myself. So I'll do like a build your own video as well as to how I've got that put together. It's not finished yet. It's pretty much just a prototype right now. So I will reveal that to you guys in another video as well. Basically at the moment it needs painting and then re-putting together, preferably soldering. So it's a lot of work. It won't have sound or be anywhere near this kind of quality. Saberforge is expensive, but if you want decent quality saber hilts or full-on sabers, I do recommend them. Their service, I've never had a problem with it. They do have a reputation of being a little bit bad in terms of like getting back to people and, as I say, delays. But if you can bear with the time it takes for these things to come through, the actual product you get, I think is brilliant. I've never had an issue with any of their stuff. So I've got a few, and I know plenty of people that have had loads of them as well. So I'm not aware of anything. If there were an issue, it would be a bit of a problem, because obviously you can't easily ship it back all the way to America for them to repair it. It does come with a guarantee. But it's not going to be obviously as easy to get that sorted, and you're probably better off trying to find someone who's more local that might be a whiz with electronics to have a go at trying to fix things if something had gone wrong with it. But there we go. Those are my thoughts on the Mercenary. I love it. I'm very happy that I have it, and I can't wait to hopefully start using it again in some more LED combat classes sooner rather than later. Hopefully. Pandemic has kind of put all of that on hold. But there we go. That's the Mercenary. And with that said, we are done. Let me know what you think, whether you like the design. Would you make any particular changes to this? What colour would you go for? What blade colour would you go for? Let me guys know what you think. And with that said, we're all done. And I'll see you guys in the next video.